In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Thanks, Lisa. Laura Kemp is an author who loves to write about her home state of Michigan. Her Lantern Creek series, as well as her new novel, I Paint the Sky, take place completely or partially in Michigan. She teaches special education at White Pigeon Middle School and also participates in community theater as an actress and director and performs with a Celtic band. Her newest book, Paint the Sky, is available at her website, laurakemp.com, and also wherever cool books are sold. Laura, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I Paint the Sky is very different from your Lantern Creek series. Why the change up?
Well, I really love Westerns. When my husband and I sit down to watch movies, we always search out Westerns. I'm a big fan of Yellowstone, big fan of the spinoffs, 1883. In fact, I call I Paint the Sky Sleeping with the Enemy meets 1883. I love Tombstone. It's like my favorite movie. And I've always wanted to tackle it because I just feel a real affinity for that time period. I love westward expansion. It's one of my favorite periods in history. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Why not? And I had written a Western when I was like 10, and I set it at the Lost Dutchman mine in Arizona, and then I promptly lost it or forgot about it. And when I was thinking of what should I write after the Lantern Creek series, I said, why don't you write a Western? I mean, you don't have to make it like the one you wrote when you were 10, but, you know, maybe have some elements of it in there. And so that's what I started doing. And it was really, really fun. I enjoy that time period a lot.
You built a very interesting plot. Give us, without spoilers, a synopsis of I Paint the Sky.
Well, it centers around a young woman named Emily Ives who marries quickly, doesn't really know her husband very well, and quickly turns into like the Sleeping with the Enemy type storyline where he's literally kind of chasing her across the Oregon Trail, not in a car, but in a covered wagon and in a horse. So they're not moving as quickly as they went. But she meets some people along the way who help her. And of course, there's a love interest as well on the wagon train. And then it quickly takes a turn towards a treasure hunt. So I always love a good treasure hunt. But it just has a mixture of romance, mystery, thriller, yeah, all the things that are kind of in my other books. It's just set in a different time period. And I obviously had to do a lot more research for this because I don't know what was going on in 1855. I don't know what they used for anything. So I constantly had to stop and research everything. That was new for me. I didn't have to do that really much with the other series.
One of the things that non-authors ask us all the time is, where the heck did you get that idea for that story? Where did this one come from?
I know. How do you answer that? I don't know where it comes from. I just sort of meditate on it and clear my mind. And then I feel like I'm an archaeologist. I feel like the story is there. I'm just kind of uncovering it. And I'll do a little digging and I'll knock my little hammer against a rock and then a little piece of it will expose itself. And then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm not the person who maps everything out ahead of time. I kind of discover my stories more organically than that.
So how does that happen? You start writing and then what?
I just start writing and then it's like the path becomes clear. And if I feel like I'm off of the main path, it won't feel right. So I have gone through and deleted things and deleted chapters and rewrote it. And if it feels right to me, then I know I'm on the right path.
Do your characters talk to you?
Do they talk to me? Yeah. And the side characters as well, especially when I'm writing their dialogue. Sometimes I feel like I'm just listening, like around a door and I'm eavesdropping and they're just talking and I'm just recording what they say. Because once I start with a character and they have a real distinct voice, they do take on a life of their own. And I'm just sort of hanging on and trying to get it down as quickly as I can. So yeah, definitely. They steer the ship a lot of the time, and I'm just recording.
Laura Kemp is our guest. LauraKemp.net is her website, and her latest is I Paint the Sky. For those who don't know about the Lantern Creek series, give us a summary of that epic.
Oh, epic. It's like Beowulf or, yeah. It's a 3-part series set in Michigan, our home state. Yay. And it's set up in northern Michigan, and it's about a girl who loses her father when she's 12. But the whole mystery is he really gone? Did he just run off? Is he dead? What happened to him? So she goes north when she sees his picture in the paper of the small northern town and uncovers the mystery of what happened to Dad. And of course, it goes beyond that. She meets her quirky characters. That's kind of a theme for me, the quirky characters. She has some Native American side characters. I always have Native American characters, too, in my books. I really feel close to the spirituality and just the sensibility of that. And so she goes north and unravels the mystery of what happened to Dad, and she really kind of discovers herself and who she is along the way and how strong she is. There are paranormal elements to it, but it's like more like magical realism, where it's like normal girl just falls down the rabbit hole and then discovers who she really is through all of these crazy experiences.
You're one of the rare people who actually trained for this career. That's what you studied in college.
I did. I have a degree in creative writing from Western Michigan University, where I studied with Stuart Dybeck and Arnie Johnston. And I actually just reconnected with Arnie Johnston recently. He was my playwriting teacher. And Stu Dybeck and I used to keep in touch. I've kind of lost touch with him, but he's well known in the short story community. So I had fabulous teachers, and I had a fabulous time doing creative writing.
Which is easier, the short story or the novel?
Oh, I almost think the novel, because you have so much more room to explore. The short story, you've got to wrap it up. And then if you do microfiction, which is like 100 to 250 words, that's even more difficult. But I think novels are easier to write than short stories. But short stories are so satisfying because you can just be done with it. And it's not going on for months and months, and you're just done. And then I'm kind of an obsessive editor, and then I can just edit the heck out of it and usually get it pretty good because it's a short story. In novels, I miss stuff.
So you have done both versions of publishing. You have been published by a publisher, and you've also done the self-publishing route. Mm-hmm. Which was easier?
Oh, goodness. They all have pros and cons. I obviously like the self-publishing because it's a lot quicker. You can turn things out. People don't have to wait years and years for your book. You have a lot of control. You can, have a hand in designing your covers. You have a hand in deciding what story you want to do. I mean, I don't have to send proposals and wait to see if a publishing house wants me to write what I want to write about. So I love that. The traditional is nice because I can be kind of essentially a lazy person, and I like them just doing stuff for me. So I really liked that I just had an editor, and I just had somebody working on my cover, and I just had the graphics. So I do like that there's help and there's a community of other writers. Usually you kind of get close to the other people in your publishing house. But I think of the two at this point, I enjoy the freedom of self-publishing more. And I know that my readers appreciate the fact that they don't have to wait.
Well, I Paint the Sky is certainly getting its share of 5-star reviews. Why do you think people like that story?
Maybe because it doesn't have the paranormal aspect. I think sometimes people aren't able to connect with that if that's not really what they like to read. So maybe just because it's a straight story. I think that the American West kind of lives in the psyche of most people. It's in a very romantic and adventurous period in our history, and I think people are curious about it. So I just think the setting itself, and I think the characters are likable. I mean, there's one character a few that aren't very likable, but most of the characters, I tried to make them very quirky and very likable. It's set in the Black Hills, a beautiful setting. I always love my natural setting, so. And I'm out of hope the writing. Maybe they like the writing.
We're in conversation with Laura Kemp. She is the author of the Lantern Creek series, which is on the paranormal side, and her latest, the brand new I Paint the Sky, which is much more of a Western romance and is doing incredibly well. It's available in both digital and print format on Amazon, and you can order it wherever cool books are sold. Will there be an audiobook for this one?
I would love to do an audiobook, but I'm so essentially lazy when because I would love to then narrate it. Because I would just like to narrate it. So yeah, I could, in the foreseeable future, I could see doing that when I get the time or figure out how to do that.
Your characters too, especially in I Paint the Sky, are so incredibly complicated and full of wonderful flaws and inspiring strengths as well. And even your bad guys are interesting to read about. How do you build an interesting character?
Well, it's kind of like how I write. I just start writing, and then I feel like it gets more and more detailed. The picture becomes more and more clear, like something that's out of focus at first. And then I'll kind of just stumble across little things. And I don't ever like to just have things be at face value, like you said about my villains. I find people very interesting, and I love to give my readers a full view and a complete picture of all the characters. It's just kind of fascinating to me. I love to dig deep.
Well, you pull off what few authors can do with an antagonist, and that is you make the reader feel empathy for them. We love to hate the bad guys, but you make us love them.
I love the dichotomy of it. I love that, because I don't necessarily think people are just all good or all bad in real life. I feel like there's always another side, and I like to make people think, like, oh, because it's so easy just, white hat, black hat, especially in a Western. The black hat's the bad guy, the white hat's the good guy. It's just so much more interesting when they're multifaceted. So I always try to, even in the Lantern Creek series with the villain in that, who is really villainous as well and had supernatural powers to back it up, I still tried to give a little bit of his backstory to see what had happened and why he was so angry and bitter. I just think it makes a more interesting character. Even in, any superhero movie that you watch, if there's a villain, or Joker is a great example. One of my favorite movies is Joker, because he's awful, but I'm fascinated by his story of how he became Joker. And to me, it's one of the best movies ever made, and I strive for that in my villains. They're not just going to be a villain or a caricature or a black hat.
You and I have been on the road together. I have watched you do your thing, marketing.
Yeah.
What is your favorite way to interact with people in the real world?
Well, I have a Kemp Facebook page that I interact a lot with. So if you're interested, get on Facebook and look me up on Kemp, and we have a lot of fun. But, there's still that wall between you and the reader. I really love in-person events, and I love to go and chat with people. It's kind of hard to put yourself out there and just sit there at your little folding table behind your books. But I'm so glad that I have put myself out there, because I've met so many really interesting people. And I like to connect, not even just about my books. I sometimes just like to hear about their lives and what's going on with them. So I like the in-person events best, when I can actually speak and get pictures with and talk to readers. Those are my favorite.
So what's next?
In writing or in life? I have to go back to middle school in like a month and a half. But I do have another project in mind, and it's a continuation of I Paint the Sky. The characters, there's a baby in this book, and I would like to explore his story as he grows, gets older, and discovers who he really is, because, boy, this baby has a lot of baggage, because a lot happened to him, and there's a lot he doesn't know about his past. And it's just an interesting angle to explore. And then you can still have some of the old characters pop back in, so you don't really have to say goodbye to anybody. I don't like saying goodbye.
The new book is I Paint the Sky. The previous series is the Lantern Creek series. They were composed and created by our guest, Laura Kemp. LauraKemp.net is her website, and you can also join Kemp on Facebook.
Join Kemp. Be a camper.
Laura, why do you write?
That's probably what Maya Angelou said, right? If you bear an untold story, there's no greater burden than bearing an untold story inside of yourself. So I think I write to bring light to those stories, or bring light to the things that maybe confuse me or inspire me. I just feel like I have lots to say, and I want people to find comfort and encouragement in the stories that I write. I do it for myself a little bit, but I also do it for my reader. I feel like I can't not write. It's just something inside of me that just propels me to write. So I do that also to just satisfy that urge within myself.
The next time you find yourself in a library or a bookstore, look for Laura Kemp. If you don't see her, ask for her. Laura, thanks for joining us in the conversation.
Thank you for having me. So good to see you and hear you.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.